Welcome everyone to another episode of the, what am I called again? Oh yeah, Star Wars Blip podcast. Today we're going to be talking about episode 9 of Bad Batch, called The Crossing. This episode, my initial thoughts of this episode was it was very different than what we've seen before. It's definitely an episode that focuses more on character development of certain characters, especially Tech and Omega. And we'll see that in the episode, it was definitely more of a solo mission, just focusing on the Bad Batch. And I actually really liked that about the episode, is that it was really just focusing on the Bad Batch and not really focusing on anything else other than the Bad Batch. That being said, let's get into the breakdown. The Bad Batch arrive on a harsh planet, and they have to locate IPSIOM. Now, IPSIOM is a highly explosive ore that is found in rocks in certain planets, especially this planet that the Bad Batch are on is very high in IPSIOM, and they have to find some. They locate a mine. Well, they locate the mine that Sid, their boss, has purchased, and so they have to go in the mine and extract some IPSIOM. They find some IPSIOM. Let's backtrack for a second. Before the Bad Batch go into the mine that Sid has brought, they park their ship on a cliff face, and they have to go around a mountain to find the mine. Now, when they're standing at the mine, they cannot see their ship, the Marauder. Now, this is going to be very important in understanding this episode. Hunter and Tech start to go mine some IPSIOM. They place Wrecker and Omega in charge of being lookouts to make sure no one steals their ship, as they were told by Sid that this planet is full of poachers that are willing to steal their ship, and any ship for that matter. Hunter and Tech arrive with the IPSIOM, and Hunter and Omega are in charge of being lookouts. Soon enough, their ship gets stolen by poachers, and they all witness this as they see the Marauder flying off into the distance, and they're just like, dude, that's our ship. And so they can't really do anything about that. And so everyone starts blaming each other for the problems, and we actually see firsthand the Bad Batch having some trouble with, their emotions, and they're bickering and fighting with each other, and Omega doesn't like that. She doesn't like conflict in that matter. And so they are without a ship, and so they have to find a village. There's a village 42 clicks away, so they start walking to the village. They start walking through this canyon with a pack of IPSIOM. Mind you, IPSIOM is highly explosive, and Tech even says it's just as explosive as a activated thermal detonator, which means it is pretty explosive, even though it's an ore found in the rocks. They almost die from a stampede of desert gazelles. They almost get trampled by all these desert Tatooine looking gazelles. And soon enough they come into contact with a sandstorm. They discover another mine, and so they have to blow their way into the mine using their spare IPSIOM. They go into the mine, and a bunch of rocks fall, sealing the exit of the mine. Now they're locked in the mine. They start moving the rocks away to unlock the opening to the mine because they're sealed in. There's a rock face, they're sealed in. They start moving the rocks away to get out. Omega, at this point, is very downcast. She is very, very sad that Echo left their squad. Echo is on a mission right now with Wrecker, and hopefully we'll see some flashbacks to that mission that Echo is on with Captain Rex, not Wrecker. And so Omega feels very, very sad that Echo left, and she is telling the Bad Batch her emotions. And Tech during this episode was kind of mean. He was like, he blamed Wrecker for the loss of the Marauder. He's like, well, if you were a better lookout, we wouldn't be in this mess. And Wrecker retaliates like, well, if you were fast enough, we could be out of here by now. And so Tech is kind of being a wet blanket through this episode. And Omega, while they're in the mine, she's like, just leave me alone. She goes somewhere in the mine, and the rest of the Bad Batch are trying to bring the rocks out of... They're trying to make an exit for them out of the mine that is sealed off by the rocks. Wrecker and Hunter recognize that Tech is very, very downcast. He's frustrated. Tech is very frustrated, and we see this firsthand. This is the first time we've seen the Bad Batch be super frustrated. Tech is very frustrated, and Hunter says, "Why don't you go talk to Omega?" Because Omega kind of feels hurt by Tech because Tech was being mean that day. Not very mean, just rude. And so Omega, while she's walking in the abandoned mine, finds a whole vein of IPSIOM, enough to power like a starfighter. And there's so much IPSIOM. And so she starts mining it. Tech comes upon Omega, and he's like, "Oh, great, awesome. We've found this IPSIOM." And she tells Omega to be careful. Omega, soon enough, falls down into a crater in the mine. And it's a dark crater. She falls down this like tunnel in the mine. She lands in some water. Tech jumps in after her to save Omega. It's an underground river, and Tech and Omega are swimming for their lives in this underground river, in this cave, in this mine full of IPSIOM. They soon enough end up in this cavern with the underground lake. The river leads to the underground lake. They fall in the lake. They come up on dry land, and Tech apologizes to Omega, and Omega explains to Tech that she's very sad that Echo left their squad, and Tech is like, "I'm sorry that I was rude. Don't worry, Echo will be back soon enough. Just wait." And so they're in this cavern filled with IPSIOM. They have enough IPSIOM, and they have like 10 vials of IPSIOM. That's more than enough. They only needed 2, now they have 10. And so Hunter and Wrecker are like, "Okay, where is everybody?" And they start looking for Tech and Omega. Mind you, Hunter and Wrecker are up here, Tech and Omega are down here. And so they start communicating with each other. Tech calls Hunter and says, "Follow the IPSIOM vein, jump inside the river, it'll take you down to where we are." And it's funny because Wrecker is just hilarious when there's like a waterfall that goes into the lake. He falls down the waterfall, and it's really funny to see him just like splash, and Omega's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "I'm good." It's funny. They end up using some IPSIOM to blast their way out of the abandoned cavern, and they have this huge case of IPSIOM, and they're like, "Okay, we made it out of this abandoned mine. We've survived a stampede. We've survived an IPSIOM blast. We've survived a sandstorm. But we don't have the Marauder to get off this stupid planet." And so they end up going to an abandoned mining village, and they contact Sid, and Sid is gonna help them off that planet. That's it, guys. It was kind of a shorter episode, but it was still pretty cool. I encourage you to watch it and share this video. Do whatever you want. That's it, guys. Peace.